All right, everybody, welcome back to the Fantasy Fest 2025 here on the Fantasy Pros MLB channel. Joining us, our own Wonky One. That's right, Wonky One Kenobi. Kelly Kirby, the Penguin, is here. And listen, Kelly, it's great to see you. You know, I love hanging out with you. You will be in my neck of the woods in what, just a week or so? Is that correct?
Yeah, I will be there all next week. So I was just figuring out my schedule and then figured you and I would hang out, eating Brooklyn pizza, I believe.
That's my plan. I somehow figure that out, despite all of the many flag football tournaments I have to coach in the next 10 days. I'm going to be there. We're going to figure it out one way or another. Welsh, of course, has never been to New York City. He's never probably then tasted real pizza, and also has never seen a snowflake, I believe, in his life.
I've seen some snow. I've jumped in snow a couple times, not much.
There you go. Where was it? In like some production or something like that, where it's fake snow and you're just like,
we have Arizona. We have snow in Arizona. It's just up north.
In the mountains. I know. Yeah. I know. I'm teasing, but you always say I've never been in cold weather. And I don't know.
You're right. I've never been below 25 degrees in my life, so I don't know what that is.
And for the record, Kelly Kirby, you live in Minnesota, so
I've been
describe that for Welsh.
I've been pushing for a team trip in Minnesota, but yeah, I can describe it. It was 60 degrees on Monday, and then we had a blizzard on Friday. So
there you go.
That sounds fun. Well, come and hang out for my 125. You can get 120, 125.
I don't know what's worse, honestly. That's why I just stick around in New Jersey where I am. All right, we have our must-have players coming up here. And Kelly, we're starting with a guy that I've been drafting everywhere. I just took him in the Raz Slam that we're all in there drafting away there, going in that slow draft. I am very, very bullish on this player. I like the over on him for home run totals. I even like him to lead the league potentially in home runs this year. That's right. I said it. And it's Brent Rooker. So let's talk about him. Let's talk about the Athletics, because they're moving out of that ballpark, which is a place that has way too much foul territory, which costs hitters at times. It's a much more hitter-friendly environment in Sacramento. We know this. It's old PCL stuff. So why are you so bullish on Brent Rooker in 2025?
I mean, I'm bullish, but I'm not delusional. I don't think he's going to lead the American League in home runs. But I mean, I guess we can go there if you want to.
Let's go there. Why can't he hit 45 and do it? And why can't Aaron Judge get pitched around all year? I mean, I'm just saying.
That is true. I don't know how he can overtake Judge, but that is fine. I love him. I've loved him for the last couple of years. And then last year, it just entirely paid off with the number of homers he hit, the power he showed. We're not going to get that batting average again. I mean, he batted 293. I think that's going to fall at least to 260, but I'm not drafting him for batting average. I want all the homers. I love that the ballpark is changing, even if it supposedly has the same type of dimensions. Isn't it 190 degrees on the field in Sacramento all the time? And I hear that he carries the ball. I wouldn't know. I live in Minnesota. So, but yeah, I like what he would do with the counting stats. Just those three big ones that in my draft strategy today, I talked about. I want people who are going to hit 30 and 100 RBIs and 90 runs if possible. I want those guys, three of them, if I can get them. And he's just my target every draft.
And I would throw into the lineup has improved around him as well. You got Lawrence Butler at the top now, Rooker hitting the 2 spot, then Blade and Langoliers, Soderstrom here hitting the 5 spot. Geloff has had some moments up and down, but he's got a little bit of pop even down at the bottom. Jacob Wilson at 9 projects to be a nice major league player. All of a sudden, this Athletics team, I think, is far more intriguing, and I think they're going to be very pesky in 2025. They're going to give a lot of teams fits. Maybe they don't come out with a ton of W's, but kind of like the Nationals early, I think a team is going to hang around a lot more games because of the offense that they might be able to bring here, and I think that is a very exciting one. Well, we've talked about this before. In 2025, it's ironic because now steals have become easier to find with the new rules changes. It's power that you have to covet a little bit more. And to me, Brent Rooker is going in a spot where you can really draft him and feel good about getting a guy with 35, 40 home run potential, maybe even a little bit more.
It's not quite the same, but you can almost just say power is the new steals. You've got to keep, it's an arms race of power. And, guys like Victor Robles, Jake McCarthy. I mean, even if you want to look at the Bryce Terangs, you legit can find 30 to 40 stolen bases with good batting average and double-digit homers outside the top 100. It's harder and harder to find that for power, especially that comes with some batting average. And, maybe you don't want it like devoid of runs or something like that. So to what Kelly said, getting those 3 high-end categories of homers, RBI, and runs. And if it comes with batting average, it's even more valuable. I completely agree here. Brent Rooker the only thing that's negative about Brent Rooker are in systems that he only qualifies at util. That kind of stink. But that is worth it. I mean, 35 homers feels good. 90 feels really good. And we know we can find those stolen bases later. So there is more of a priority than ever before that. Like, I remember last year thinking like, oh, do you really want to take an Austin Riley? Do you really want to take even, I know you're kind of down in Devers, but like, do you want to do that? Well, 30 plus homers, 90 or 100. Brent Rooker is just like a 2-round cheaper version than some of those. So I completely agree. In the world of must-haves, I'm on board with Brent Rooker.
All right, let's see about Spencer Schwellenbach here, a pitcher that last year came up. It didn't get off to the best start, but my goodness, did it finish strong. And Spencer Schwellenbach, a guy coveted by a lot of quote-unquote experts in the space these days. You cannot turn on a podcast, it feels like, and not hear somebody talking about Spencer Schwellenbach. And we're guilty as well. So, Welsh, let's discuss the opportunity that he has in 2025. You look at some of these projections here for him, and certainly looks like a very strong pitcher for the Atlanta Braves coming into this season, an organization that has continued to grow good pitching over the many, many decades now. And they're in a spot here where Schwellenbach now looks to be a guy making 30 starts this year. So let's talk about the projections for him, and let's talk about Spencer Schwellenbach and why you are so in on him this season.
Yeah, and I'll point out, I'm not going to do this a lot, but like, you're right, everyone is talking about Schwellenbach, but I do want to say, I've been doing it on this channel since like December, November. Like, so I've been pretty consistent. So this should not be a shock. There'll be players that we haven't like talked a ton about, but there's going to be a couple players that like I've heavily attached to, like I have to have. And Spencer Schwellenbach has been that almost since day one. So in the world of must-haves, especially based on his cost, there is like like legitimately like SP like 2 fantasy upside. I don't want to be like he's going to be like a top 10 guy, but like could he be a top 15 guy? I definitely think it's out there. The cost makes sense, and I want him on every single one of my teams. Last season, 25.4% K percentage, one of the few to have an under 5% walk rate. So he had an over 20 K minus walk percentage, which is great. Under 3.5 ERA and expected ERA, great. And he induced a lot of bad contact, under 5% barrel rate against, which is great. Got there's 5 pitches. The 2 lower, the curveball and the split finger, so 2 of those bigger breaking type of pitches, over 40% whiff rate last season. And Schwellenbach had an absurd into the year. So, you talk about some of these numbers. He had a 4.43 ERA in the pre-All-Star break, so his first 44 innings. He finished the season almost 80 innings with a 2.73 ERA, 86 strikeouts, and just 13 walks. So there's a high arsenal of pitches he's throwing. That split finger is absolutely devastating. And I've likened it to this. Everybody in the world loves Brian Wu, rightfully so. Throws his pitches, really low walk rate, but he has like a 20% K percentage. So Spencer Schwellenbach is like what you would want Brian Wu to grow into. And this guy is still growing. So I really love it. Mid-90s fastball. I think that split finger is going to take a step up, as kind of split fingers are a new rage. So Spencer Schwellenbach is an absolute must-have of fantasy starting pitcher for me. And you can get him usually around like SP3, or if you're waiting, it's more of an SP2, but he's a must-have.
You heard it here first, everyone. You want your woos to grow into Schwellenbachs. That is the most important thing you could possibly have.
It's like the birds and the bees.
There you go. This is important conversations we're having here on the channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, because you're not going to get this conversation anywhere else, I guarantee you. Kelly Kirby, better return on investment of Spencer Schwellenbach, currently 92nd overall, or Spencer Strider at 126. And follow-up question, why is everybody in Atlanta's pitching system named Spencer?
Well, I was going to say that don't do what I did in one of the drafts I was in, where I missed out on Schwellenbach, and I was like, that's fine, I'll just draft Arrighetti. like they're equal. Yeah, I mean, Strider makes me nervous. So I would definitely, in terms of value, yeah, he could obviously be a great value. Schwellenbach to me is just a much stronger pick. I don't really care where he is for this season. if Strider comes back and lights the world on fire, then that's great. But I would rather have Schwellenbach. I will settle for Arrighetti, apparently, and we'll go from there.
Hey, Arrighetti's last 12 starts were pretty impressive
I know.
last year.
Oh, yeah.
Let's,
Can we get a whole rotation of Spencers? Are there who else?
Is Turnbull still?
I don't think he's still out there though.
Let
chat. Give us some more Spencers. Let's see if we can get our Spencer.
We just need more Spencers.
And is there a closer? We're just trying to figure out if we can do this. See if you guys can do it.
Spencers are for hire here. Let's get back to some questions before we get to the questions here in our chat, because I see you all there hanging out with us. Drop your questions below. Before we get to that, I want to remind everybody about the draft assistant. You saw the commercial, but again, it's time to get ready for your drafts, and the draft assistant will make those decisions much easier to make during your fantasy draft. It connects directly to your draft. You can sync your leagues for free, and it provides real-time suggestions. It's like having us there in the draft. You can create cheat sheets as well, which are really useful. It'll tell you all the players who are picking after you. The managers are going to already have relief pitchers. Don't take a relief pitcher here. Take them on the way back. All these little insights, all these little moments, these reminders, these little coachable, teachable moments are all there for you if the draft assistant is linked to your league. So download right now the draft assistant, fantasypros.com/assistant. Or again, as I said, just go and download the Draft Wizard app wherever you get your apps. And that way you can use the draft assistant, which fully integrates and customizes to your leagues. Again, the ranks, the cheat sheets, you can use different experts, pick your experts, or just use the consensus rankings as well. That way, you're going to dominate your draft and you're going to have the cheat code that nobody else does. So use it right now, fantasypros.com/assistant, or again, Fantasy Baseball Draft Wizard app. Download it today, wherever you get your apps from. Let's get to some questions here, because I know there's a lot here. Who will pitch more innings this year, Kirby or Woo? I assume they mean George Kirby, not Kelly.
Not Kelly. Yeah, I was curious too.
I would say, I don't know. Welsh, you can go first.
I'm going to go with George
now.
still. I think Woo makes a lot of sense, but I would still go with George. It looks like it's not, in like the path, it was like Garrett Cole, devastating. Grayson Rodriguez, like maybe there's some hope. Maybe he misses a month and a half. Kirby looks like he might just start on the IL and come back right after. The worry would be is if this does linger, of course, but like Kirby is built to go deep. So I would say even if you take off like even a month, I still think George Kirby might outdo Brian Woo, but it's probably close. But I'll go with Kirby.
I'm taking the Scott Bogman theory. Stop taking guys that are hurt, especially pitchers, before the season even starts.
I'm not saying to take George Kirby. I'm just saying I think there's some optimism to it.
How about this one? This is your guy Rooker or Ozuna from G-Toss. What do you say, Kelly?
I would rather have Rooker. The only my draw to Ozuna is most people got him really cheap last year. So if he's a keeper and you're only losing, a 14th or 15th round pick, then he gets a lot more value to me, but I would go Rooker.
All right. Again, if you've got questions, we've got answers. And if you have a question that you are desperate to get answered, super chats are turned on. So you can always super chat us and you'll go above everybody else. But we're trying to take as many questions as we can regardless. Sprinkle them in there. And let's get back to some of the players right now that Kelly must have. We talked about Spencer Arrighetti having a good second half. Well, how about the months of May on for Hunter Brown? It could not get any worse for Hunter Brown in April. I mean, a 10+ ERA. People were dropping him everywhere. Panic was setting in. And then the guy was basically lights out the rest of the season. And I have to say, when it comes back around here, I feel like people are holding that first month against him way too harshly in ADP. He is so suppressed still. And he's a player that I find myself drafting quite a bit in early drafts. And it looks like you feel the same way about Hunter Brown, Kelly.
Yeah, I've developed sort of, I don't know, Brandon Pfaadt versus Hunter Brown. I'm gonna roster them everywhere, probably against my will, in some of them. But yeah, I mean, in the month of May, he had 21 walks in 37 1/3 innings. So his first 8 starts were awful. And then the rest of the year was fantastic. And he developed that powerful sinker that he had. And that's when everything sort of turned. I liked him before last year. I think everyone dropped him in April last year. But it also to me, he just screams like that guy that is going way too late, who everyone is holding an awful month about against. His current ADP is 106. He has a 26% career strikeout rate. We're not going to talk about his walk rate because that's where the problem lies. It's around 8%. But like his xFIP last year was 3.47. So it is just, I think he's just really ripe to way outperform his ADP.
Well, look, I understand that, the Houston rotation doesn't look exactly like people thought it would. We had injuries to Garcia, injuries to, Christian Javier, but, Hunter Brown was kind of the guy last year that stepped up in a big way and became, arguably outside of Framber Valdez, their most reliable guy. I mean, probably is their most reliable guy. So at this stage, do you look at Hunter Brown as a draft target of yours as well in 2025 drafts?
I think he's, I'm a little indifferent in that I don't think I have like a ton of shares to it, but there just are, there are a lot of positives on Hunter Brown. First off, 25% K percentage, a little bit higher walk rate than Spencer Schwellenbach at 8%. So you'd love to see that come down. But like Schwellenbach, really low barrel percentage again. So weak contact, bad, worse contact. Average exit velocity was 86.2 again. So that was bottom or top 5 percentile of the league. So not only are they not barreling it, they're not hitting it hard. He had a sub-3 ERA. And again, comparing it again to finding that trajectory of like Schwellenbach in my comparison is 2.26 ERA in the second half. He had a 4.39 in the first, found it in the second half. So he's carrying a really, really great turnaround from last year into this year with some very big positives of that weaker contact. I would love for the strikeouts to pick up a little bit. I do think that is a possibility with him in that slider. So, or the cutter, I think is a little bit more into that range, 29% on the changeup, 30% on the knuckle curve. So if we can see a little bit of an uptick there, Hunter Brown probably should be a little bit more on my radar. He's just, like I said, it's a little bit indifferent. And frankly, I think Hunter Brown and Schwellenbach are right near each other. I think they're like right in that general vicinity.
And these are the names that I keep going after because you know me, you've done all these drafts with me. I'm hitting the offense early and often in drafts. So I'm looking for guys that can perform like number ones that are going for number 2 and number 3 costs. And Hunter Brown, almost a 10 ERA there in April. He implemented the sinker, I think, and then from May 17th on, the ERA was 2.48. That was top 5 in all of Major League Baseball. Let's get to Welsh's other guy, another dude that I love here at the back half of drafts too. When you're looking to get a little bit of pop in your corner spot, you're looking at Jake Burger. Jake Burger is a dude that, I mean, the landing spot here, getting out of Miami and going to Texas is tremendous. If this lineup is healthy with Corey Seager and Marcus Semien has a bounce back and Wyatt Langford takes that step forward, Jake Burger could find himself in a very productive lineup. And that is a very good thing for fantasy, not to mention that dual corner eligibility, which really helps you throughout the season with injuries. You draft him as a corner guy, but if you need him to play first or third, you can slide him over there. Welsh, talk to me about Jake Burger this season.
Yeah, Rake Burger. We talked earlier with Brent Rooker, and we said, all right, 30 plus home run hitters is definitely a priority. So even more so, we should pay attention to 30 plus home run hitters outside the top 100. We would love a higher run in RBIs. And the only thing that might put Burger's that in question is where he hits in the lineup early. Like Roster Resource had him hitting like 8 or 7 or something like that. I legitimately think he could be hitting higher. I'm not sure Adolis is like 100% deserving of that. And I'm not sure that Josh Young needs to be hitting in front of him. So I can kind of squash that. But like that comparison we talked about earlier with Chris Davis and CJ Abrams in his average. Well, how about 3 straight seasons of hitting 250? That's Jake Burger. He hits 250. He also, over the last 2 seasons, averaging right around 32 home runs hit. Great hitting profile, 12% barrel, 46% hard hit. He lowered his strikeout rate. He upped his launch angle. He's consistently hitting the ball hard. It's over 91 average exit velocity. And he had an expected batting average that was better than his actual batting average. On top of it, you now go to a phenomenal lineup where, pending where he's hitting, something between Corey Seager, Semien, Langford, Jock Peterson when he's going in against a strong side platoon. All of those are really, really incredible hitters in front of him, and ballpark factor. For right-handed hitters, Texas Rangers have a top 10 ballpark. They're 9th in right-handed overall ballpark factor. Not that Marlins were crazy, but Marlins were league average. They were around 14th on it. And as far as a home run ballpark factor for right-handed hitters, 4th in there. So Jake Berger is a big mashing power hitter with a bunch more guys in front of him in the lineup. He's been pretty consistent. He's got a great hitting profile, and he's going outside the top 10, 110 ADP, and in some instances even further. So why not get a first and third base eligible guy with 30 plus homer potential, at least 80, and maybe we even go further. I think Jake Berger is like a no brainer to take, who's going to qualify either as your first, third, maybe even corner infield if you got greedy a little bit and getting that 30 plus homer potential. So I'm in on the Jake Berger.
All right. Here's a good question here from South African G. Hunter Brown or Hunter Green? So now we're doing the Hunter comparisons here. Interesting one, though, because Hunter Green, huge upside in strikeouts there. We know that. Hunter Brown, we just extolled his virtues here for quite a while. Kelly, who would you rather have this year based on their ADP, Hunter Brown or Hunter Green, going not that far away from each other?
Yeah, I was going to talk about that a little bit when I talked about Hunter Brown, where I like him a little bit more than Green. There's something like Green's injury history last year bothered me just a bit. Like there was some, I don't remember if it was arm or elbow or shoulder. It just concerns me enough that I would prefer Hunter Brown, who, as long as he stops walking everyone, is doing great. But that is my that would be my pick of the two. I was also going to mention to the audience, like, I love interacting with you on Discord and Twitter, but I've had like two people tell me that like the only sentence they say is, "You hated my draft. Why?" And I'm like, with no other information. And so my answer to that is always, did you draft Jacob deGrom? But
yeah, this is a hater sandwich. These two go together in the hate if you're looking for it. So we had a Joe sandwich. This is the hate sandwich now.
So
hey,
yeah,
you know what? I mean, I will gladly, manage a team, draft a team all season long with Kelly Kirby. That I guarantee you're not beating the two of our minds put together on a team. This is not happening. So the hate is real, and that's fine. This is a great story. I love this. I want to get this on here. This is from Hardy Har 72. I drafted Hunter Brown last year. Found a note on my notepad at work that said Hunter Brown. I can't believe I picked him. Worst draft pick ever. And then I won the league. So there you go. Staying the course sometimes. A little bit of patience pays off. Here's a super chat I want to get to. First pick in a 10-team head-to-head. SP or hitters at 20 and 21. Joe, here's the thing. I don't like to lock myself in as like, I got to do this, I got to do that. Every single draft is unique. There are all these little snowflakes. There's all these little different things that happen there. It's one thing in head-to-head where I understand you want to be looking for getting an edge at starting pitcher. However, in a 10-team league, I mean, I assume you're still starting at most 9 starting pitchers. The supply and demand is fine. Get your offense first. You can absolutely roll with a Blake Snell or somebody like that as your top pitcher. I would be waiting. I would not be looking at 2021 pick. I would be drafting offense until it looked like I needed to get one of those SPs on the board. Welsh, where are you at with the strategy on a 10-team head-to-head like this?
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying. I will say, though, I personally would probably be tempted to take 2 hitters and a Garrett Crochet. That would probably be the only pitcher I would take at 21, let's say, simply because it is a 10-team league, and I think I can make do with some of the hitting that's going to happen later. So I actually would prioritize just a tiny bit having like an elite starting pitcher, especially from the strikeout department, because lots of other stuff I can make up. ERA, give me Sandy Alcantara later. But I might be tempted to take Garrett Crochet. Probably no shocker, but if you didn't want to, I don't think there's any problem with it. Looking at, if you're over on FantasyPros, you can go to fantasypros.com/MLB/rankings, and you can check out all of the ECR, all the experts, not just mine or Joe's or Kelly's, but you can see everybody's together. At 20, it's Jarren Duran. At 21, it's actually Zach Wheeler. And then right around it, you got Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Ketel Marte. If like a Jackson Chourio fell to me, if Chourio and Harper happen to be there, slam dunk, give me both of those 3. But hey, if I got Ohtani at 1, Harper at 20, and Garrett Crochet at 21, I'm not going to be too upset about it.
Now, on the show, we've been talking a lot about the draft tools, but it's not just the draft tools we have at Fantasy Pros. We've also got the in-season tools like My Playbook, because the draft is just one small part of your season. The rest is managing your leagues. So sync your leagues for free. Download My Playbook. You'll get optimal lineups every single week. You can search all your leagues once. It doesn't matter if you've got them on CBS, if you've got them on Yahoo, you got 3 leagues, 1 place, 2 leagues at Fantrax. It doesn't matter, because you can see them all right from the My Playbook app. You can go ahead and set all your lineups just on the app. Now, it'll also show you all the available players, the moves you should make. It give you advice on trades. suggestions. Everything is there for you at fantasypros.com/myplaybook. So make sure you're downloading the My Playbook app right now. Make sure you download it wherever you get your apps, because My Playbook is going to help you manage your leagues. And we all know fantasy baseball is a marathon, so you're going to want as much help as you can. Hitting that waiver wire, making the deals you should be making. It'll find trades for you too that you might not even thought about, but it's not going to do anything unless you download it and start to sync your leagues. And remember, it's free. So use it at the very least just to set all your lineups, because going from app to app, it's a headache. Who's got time for that? Certainly not the Welsh, certainly not Kelly Kirby. Let's get to some more questions here before we get to our next group as well. We've got a lot of questions. And by the way, if you're here with us, don't forget to like the stream. It's very important. Subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 25,000 subscribers by opening day. Welsh, are we going to do Mario and Luigi? Because we teased that once before.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. That might actually be a phenomenal one.
We might have to do that one.
But I have to be. You're going to make me Luigi, though, aren't you?
Well, I mean, clearly, unless you want to go full Waluigi. I don't know if we want to do that.
I'll be like the ghost, the scared Luigi, who's like, oh. If you ever played that game, that's phenomenal.
I think maybe that's last year we did the mullets. Kelly Kirby, were you frightened of me with hair? That's the big question.
I mean, it was interesting, but I've seen your senior picture from high school. So
people don't, and people forget. Everybody. I ended up unintentionally having a look that ended up making me look like Joe Exotic, and Joe Exotic tweeted at me after it. So Joe Exotic wanted to, commend the look. But yeah, we've done wrestling, we've done the crazy hair one. Mario Luigi might be pretty great.
Chris Welsh told me to fade Logan Gilbert. Screw you, Chris Welsh.
I will never financially recover from not drafting Logan Gilbert.
Baskin and Chris, whatever, man, that was red hot there for a hot minute. That was good times here. All right, here's a fun one. You go, who will have more home runs in the state of Texas, Christian Walker or Jake Berger? Welsh? Ooh, a little Berger question.
Man, I have to have Christian Walker everywhere too. You just pick like the two guys. Like, give me Christian Walker mid and give me Berger later. I'm going to say Jake Berger. I think Walker's just more consistent and RBI. I think he'll win the battle of like batting average, RBI runs. Christian Walker will, but I'll say Jake Berger overtakes him on the power.
All right. Here's another one too. This is a fun one from back to back. Tatis or Carroll in the head-to-head categories. Kelly Kirby, your thoughts?
Oh God, I want to believe in Carroll's bounce back like really, really strongly. And I don't trust Tatis at all. So even if his name is now on the Rangers that cap or whatever, but I would go with Corbin Carroll.
I'm glad you said that. Did you see that reel the guy did of saying all the team names based on those new caps? That made me laugh way harder than it should.
Did you see the Texas Ranger one? Because
I did. I don't want to say that one.
No, okay, but it's on eBay. People are selling that hat for like $1,000 on eBay because it got canceled. Because
they canceled the hats.
They canceled the hat because they can't put that out there anymore, and people are selling it for like $1,000 on eBay.
Just think about how many people that it had to get through first, right? That had to approve it to get it out there. Because before you do anything, how many steps you have to go through nowadays to get anything out there and approved. That's amazing. It's fantastic. And so is Kelly Kirby. Of course, you should follow her on social media at The Wonky Penguin and check out all of her amazing work here at Fantasy Pros because she's with us. She's one of us.